The captain from New Guise smelled of brine and fear and the stale sweat of a man who had not slept since he saw something that unmade his world. He stood with his hands twisting together as if he could wring the memory out of them. His eyes kept darting toward the hall's ceiling, as if expecting a shadow to pass overhead even in stone. Daenerys watched him in silence long enough that Hizdahr zo Lorak shifted uncomfortably and Daario's smirk began to fade. Silence was a blade. It made men speak. "What did you see?" she asked at last. "Nothing that should be, Your Grace," he said, and his voice shook. "The smoke. There was less of it. I have sailed those waters before at a distance because I am not a fool. Always the mist, always the stink, always the taste of poison in the throat. But this time," he swallowed. "This time the air was clean. Not sweet, no, but clean, like cold iron." Daenerys felt the words settle in her bones. Cold iron. The same taste on her terrace. The same wrongness in the wind.
Seva ristants ja ho dictanat.
"Men exaggerate," he said, though his eyes did not look convinced. "I do not exaggerate," the captain snapped, then seemed to remember where he was and bowed his head. "Forgive me. I saw the water steaming, not from sun, from below, like a pot set on coals." Missandei unrolled a scroll. "You said you saw stone," she prompted gently, her voice a quiet river amid their tension. The captain nodded quickly, grateful for a softer face. "Yes, black stone, towers, ruins where there should be only sea. Some of it was rising, Your Grace, rising, as if the sea was spitting it up." Daario laughed once, a short sound without humor. "Maybe the sea is tired of choking on Valyria," he said. "Maybe it decided to vomit." Hizdahr's eyes flashed. "If Valyria rises," he said, carefully controlled, "then every fool with a ship will rush south to die, and every fool with an army will rush to claim what cannot be held. That is what men do." "And what do you do, Hizdahr zo Lorak?" Daenerys asked. "When the world changes and you cannot buy it with pretty words?" Hizdahr's mouth tightened. "I protect my city." "My city?" Daenerys corrected, and felt gray worms straighten beside her. The captain made a strangled noise. "There was more," he said. "A sound, like a drum under the water, a beating, came up through the hull. Men fell to their knees. One of them prayed to the mother, another to the stranger. I did not know what to pray to." Daenerys's fingers curled on the arm of her chair. "And the shadow," she said. "Ser Barristan told me you spoke of a shadow." The captain's eyes went wide, whites showing. "Wings," he whispered, "over the mist, at dawn. Too big for a bird. Too big for anything that should fly." Hizdahr let out a thin breath. "If dragons are loose in the world, then Meereen becomes a target for every city that fears them," he said. "And for those that want them." Daario pushed off the pillar, swagger softened by a soldier's sense of impending war. "Let them come," he said, though his hand went to his knife without thinking. "We'll show them what happens when they try to take what belongs to you." Missandei glanced at Daenerys, her dark eyes searching. "Your Grace," she said softly. "The markets, there are whispers. People say the cold wind means the mother of mountains has turned her face. They say the dragons are waking everywhere." Daenerys turned her gaze back to the captain. "You came to me," she said. "Not to Volantis, not to Qarth, not to the slavers." "Why?" The captain's throat bobbed. "Because you have dragons," he said simply. "And because every man in every harbor knows this. If dragons are returning to the world, then only the Dragon Queen can stand in their path." Hizdahr's mouth curled faintly, disdain and fear tangled. "Or lead them," he said. Daenerys felt the weight of that. Led them. She had wanted to be a breaker of chains, not a maker of ashes. Yet dragons did not care for intentions. Dragons cared for hunger. "What do you want?" she asked the captain. He hesitated. "Protection," he admitted, shamefaced. "The sea is changing.
Ships will die.
Trade will die. My family. You want me to stop the sea from doing what it will," Daenerys said. The captain bowed his head. I want you to try. Daenerys looked from him to her council. Old knight, eunuch soldier, wise child, perfumed noble, smiling killer. They were all waiting to see which way the wind would blow. She stood, and the room stilled. Tell every harbor, she said. Tell every captain. Tell every whispering drunk in every tavern. The doom is waking, and I will not let it wake to thieves. Dario's grin returned, sharp as steel. Hisdar's eyes hardened. Ser Barristan's shoulders sagged a fraction, as if he had feared this and hoped against it anyway. Grey Worm spoke quietly. If you go, he said. Who holds Meereen? Daenerys's gaze went to the carved wall, to dragons etched in stone, mouths open in eternal roar. Someone I choose, she said, and someone who knows that if they betray me, dragons will remember. The captain swallowed. You will go to Valyria, he breathed. Daenerys did not answer him. She walked past, cloak whispering against stone, and in her mind she saw black towers rising, water steaming, a heartbeat under the sea. She heard the faint rattle of chains below, and she knew her dragons were listening too. Meereen's docks had seen every kind of human misery. Slaves unloaded in chains, corpses tossed overboard, ships limping in with sails torn by storms or war. Yet when Tyrion Lannister stepped onto the planks, people stared as if he were a demon in flesh. It was not his height that held them. Meereen had seen dwarfs. It was the way he walked, like a man who had already died once and decided the world owed him a drink for the inconvenience. He squinted into the pale light. The morning was wrong. Too cold, too clear. His breath showed faintly, a thing he had not seen in years, and the sight made him feel briefly drunk with memory. Jorah Mormont followed close, hood up, face shadowed. The chains on his wrists clinked softly, a constant reminder of how far he had fallen and how little pride mattered now. Behind them came Nyra, clutching her bundle like a child. Her eyes were wide, scanning the Unsullied with a fear that had nothing to do with steel and everything to do with what she carried. Grey Worm waited at the end of the dock corridor, expression carved from stone. His spear was upright, his gaze relentless. Tyrion smiled, because smiling at men like Grey Worm was safer than looking afraid. Ah, he said, spreading his hands slightly. A welcoming committee. Grey Worm did not smile back. You come to my queen, he said. Names. Tyrion Lannister, Tyrion said. He watched the name move through the onlookers like a ripple. Lannister meant nothing to most of them, but rumor did. And this is Jorah Mormont, who I believe has been missed. Jorah flinched at the word missed. He had been missed, once, by a girl who thought loyalty could be enough to keep a world steady. He had betrayed her and been banished, and the world had laughed. Grey Worm's eyes narrowed. Jorah Mormont is traitor, he said flatly. Jorah bowed his head. Yes, he said, and I have come to die if she wills it, or to serve. Grey Worm's gaze slid to Nyra. And the girl. Nyra tightened her hold on the bundle. A faint hiss came from within, soft as a secret. The dockworkers nearest her recoiled instinctively. Tyrion's grin thinned. A complication, he said. One that will interest your queen. Grey Worm's jaw clenched. He stepped forward, and the Unsullied shifted, spears angling to form a tighter barrier. Show, he commanded. Nyra's eyes flicked to Tyrion, pleading. Tyrion nodded once, as gently as he could. With trembling fingers, Nyra peeled back the cloth. A small dragon blinked up at the morning light. Its scales were dark green-black, wet shine turned to matte as it dried. Its eyes were bright and alert, too intelligent for something so small. It opened its mouth and made a thin, defiant sound. Grey Worm's spear tip moved before his mind could stop it, angling toward the hatchling's throat. No, Tyrion said sharply, the word cracking like a whip. If you kill that, you might as well stab your queen in the heart, because this is the world she's walking into. Grey Worm's nostrils flared. Dragons are danger, he said. Dragons make masters. Dragons make whatever men use them to make, Tyrion replied. Sometimes that's freedom. Sometimes that's ash. The point is, there are more. Grey Worm's eyes hardened further. More. Yora's voice came rough. They're hatching, he said. Not only hers. Everywhere. Nyra whispered something in Valyrian to the hatchling. It settled, pressing its head into her chest as if comforted by the sound. The tenderness of it made Tyrion's throat tighten unexpectedly. There was something obscene about softness in a world that preferred edges. Grey Worm stared at the dragon a long moment, then looked back at Tyrion. "You speak to my queen," he said. "Now." They walked the streets under guard. Meereen watched them pass with the hungry eyes of a city that had learned to hope and fear in the same breath. Tyrion felt their stares like hands on his skin. He could hear whispers. Dwarf, demon, foreigner, dragon. Above the pyramids, a shadow passed. Tyrion glanced up in time to see Drogon's dark shape banking against the pale sky, wing beats slow, powerful, as if he owned the air itself. The hatchling in Nyra's arms lifted its head and hissed, not in fear, but in recognition. Its tiny wings twitched under the cloth, yearning. Tyrion swallowed. "Well," he murmured. "This is going to be entertaining in the way a burning tavern is entertaining." Yora did not answer. His eyes were fixed ahead, toward the Great Pyramid, toward the woman he had failed. The chains on his wrists clinked with each step like a penitent's bells. The chamber beneath the pyramid smelled of oil, iron, and dragon breath. Daenerys stood with her hands clasped behind her back, forcing herself to look at the cages as cages and not as mistakes. 3 new hatchlings paced within iron bars, small bodies already restless with a hunger that made them claw at metal until sparks flickered. Their hisses layered together, a chorus of defiance. In the shadowed rear of the chamber, Regal and Viserion strained against their own chains, larger, stronger, furious at being trapped while smaller kin prowled free within their own smaller prisons. Drogon was not there. He never came where chains clinked too loudly. Missandei hovered close, eyes shining with worry. Ser Barristan stood like an old oak, sword at his side, face pale beneath the torchlight. Grey Worm waited near the door, expression unreadable, but Daenerys could feel his tension like a drawn bow. The guards brought the newcomers in. Tyrion Lannister walked first, head held high, eyes bright with shameless curiosity. He took in the dragons, the chains, the iron cages, the queen, as if measuring all of it against some private ledger in his mind. Behind him came Jorah Mormont, and the sight of him struck Daenerys like a fist to the ribs. He fell to his knees at once, chains clinking. He did not lift his head. "My queen," he said, voice hoarse. "I have come to beg forgiveness I do not deserve." Daenerys stared at the bowed head, at the broad shoulders that had once been her shield. She remembered the day she banished him, the way his eyes had broken. She remembered the pain of it, because even betrayal left a bruise. "You have grayscale," she said, because it was easier than saying what she felt. "I had it," Jorah replied. "It is gone." Ser Barristan's brows rose, incredulous. "How?" Jorah's voice scraped. "A maester with strange knowledge. A miracle or a sin. I do not know." Daenerys's gaze slid to the girl behind them. Nyra stood small, clutching her bundle. When she looked up, Daenerys saw the faint violet in her eyes, the pale hair. Valyrian traces, diluted by generations, but present. Nyra drew back the cloth. The hatchling blinked at Daenerys, then hissed, a tiny sound that carried more pride than fear. It crawled forward within the cloth's folds, tail curling around Nyra's wrist. Its scales were darker than the others, its eyes sharper. Daenerys felt her breath catch, not because she had never seen a hatchling. She had 3 times, and those memories lived in her blood like songs. It was because this was not hers. This was the world changing without her permission. Tyrion cleared his throat. "Your Grace," he said, and his voice held a careful respect that sounded practiced. "I bring you an apology on behalf of the sea, which has clearly decided to throw problems at your feet." Grey Worm's spear angled a fraction toward him. Missandei's lips twitched. the beginning of a smile she did not allow to form. Daenerys's eyes stayed on the hatchling. "Where did you find it?" she asked Nyra. Nyra swallowed. "In the ship's hold," she said softly. "It was an egg, cracked. It came to me." "It chose you," Tyrion said. Nyra flinched at the word chose, as if it were a sentence. Daenerys walked closer, slow. The hatchling's gaze tracked her. His nostrils flared. She held out her hand. The hatchling did not move toward her the way the first Meereen hatchling had. Instead, it pressed closer to Nyra, protective, then hissed again, warning. Daenerys felt something twist inside her. Jealousy, perhaps, or fear, or the old Valyrian arrogance she did not like to admit she carried. Dragons were hers. Dragons were her birthright. Yet here was one that looked at her and did not bow, even in instinct. She lowered her hand. "It is bonded," she said quietly. Ser Barristan's voice was cautious. "Can such a bond form without the blood?" Nyra's eyes widened. "I have blood," she whispered. "Only a little. My mother said." "A little is enough," Tyrion said, and his gaze sharpened. "Or it might not even require much. If eggs are waking everywhere, perhaps the world itself is doing the choosing." Daenerys turned on him. "And you?" she asked. "Why are you here, Tyrion Lannister?" Tyrion's smile was small, almost weary. "Because my family would prefer my head on a spike," he said. "Because I have nowhere else to go. And because I have a talent for surviving disasters by standing near people powerful enough to create them." Grey Worm took a step forward, anger flickering. "You mock my queen." "I flatter her," Tyrion corrected, then inclined his head. "Also, I have something you might need. Not a sword, not an army, an understanding of how your enemies think." Daenerys studied him, this small man with clever eyes. She could smell wine on him even here, beneath stone and dragon breath. Yet there was something else too, something hard and battered under the humor. Loss, exile, the kind of pain that turned into sharpness. Jorah lifted his head slightly, eyes red-rimmed. "He saved my life," he said, "and he brought me here." Daenerys's gaze returned to Jorah. The anger she had kept banked flared. "You betrayed me," she said, voice low. "You lied to me." "I did," Jorah said, "and I would cut out my own heart if it would undo it." "Poetry does not change truth," Daenerys replied. Jorah bowed his head again. "No," he agreed, "only actions." The hatchlings in the cages hissed louder, agitated by raised voices. Regal roared, pulling against chain. Viserion answered, flame licking briefly from his mouth, lighting the chamber in blue-white glare. Nyra's hatchling snapped its head toward the chained dragons and made a sound sharp, almost angry. It was a child scolding older beasts. Daenerys stared at it, feeling the weight of what it meant. Dragons multiplying, bonds forming beyond her, power scattering like embers in a wind. "Missandei," she said softly, without looking away. "How many eggs have we found now?" Missandei's voice trembled. 7, she said, "in the city, and rumors of more in the camps." 7, a number that tasted like omen. Daenerys straightened. "Then listen," she said, voice cutting clean through the hisses and roars. "No one speaks of this beyond these walls. Not yet. Not until I decide how. And you," her eyes locked on Nyra, "you will stay in the pyramid under my protection." Nyra's face drained. I am no one. You are someone," Daenerys said. "Now." Tyrion's eyes gleamed with understanding. Jorah's shoulders sagged with relief. Grey Worm's gaze remained hard, but he did not object. Daenerys looked at the cages again. 7 eggs. 3 hatchlings here. 1 bonded to a girl she had never met. The world was filling with fire, and fire did not obey. She felt the cold wind above her, even through stone, and she knew that whatever beat beneath the smoking sea was calling. Volantis pretended to be the heir of Valyria the way a beggar might pretend to be a king, with loud clothes and louder pride. In the Triarch's palace, the marble was polished until it shone like water, and the tapestries displayed tigers and dragons tangled together in a dance of conquest. Maegor Waters stood in the center of the hall with dried blood on his cheek and ash in the creases of his armor. He did not bow as deeply as custom demanded. His pride would not allow it, even after what he had seen. The Triarchs stared down at him with the cold appraisal of men who had never had to risk their own skin. One was fat and jeweled, fingers heavy with rings. Another was thin as a spear, eyes sharp. The third was younger, lips pursed in distaste. "You returned," the fat Triarch said, as if surprised. "I returned," Maegor replied. His voice was rough. Fewer than half did. A murmur ran through the guards. The thin Triarch leaned forward. "Tell us," he commanded. Maegor's gaze flicked to the map spread on the gold table. Valyria was marked with ink, a black blot in the south. "The smoke is thinning," he said. "The sea is steaming. Ruins are rising like teeth from a drowned mouth. There are tunnels under the stone that glow red, and things move in them, things that are not men." The younger Triarch's face tightened. "Fireworms," he said, trying to sound like the word did not frighten him. Maegor nodded once. "Yes." The fat Triarch waved a hand impatiently. "Ghost stories," he scoffed. "We sent you for eggs and steel. Did you find them?" Maegor's mouth twisted. "I found a roar," he said, "and a shadow that blotted out torchlight." Racker stepped forward, burned hands raised, eyes shining with fervor. "The Lord of Light has opened Valyria," he proclaimed. "The heart beneath the 14 flames beats again. The world's fire is returning." "Your god did not drown my men," Maegor snapped, then checked himself. He could not insult the priests too openly, not in Volantis, not with Benero's growing influence in the streets. Something else did. The thin Triarch's fingers drummed the arm of his chair. "A dragon," he said softly. "An ancient one." Maegor's throat worked. "I did not see scales," he admitted. "Only the shadow, only the roar. But..." He hesitated, and the memory tightened his voice. "It was not like the dragons the queen in Meereen has. Those are young. Even grown, they are young. This sound was old enough to make stone shake." The fat Triarch leaned back, suddenly less amused. "If such a beast lives," he murmured, "then Valyria's vaults might still be guarded." "Guarded?" The younger Triarch echoed, and there was greed in his eyes, bright and hungry. "Or claimed."
Erhakar smiled. "Terrible."
"Claimed by the true flame," he said. The thin Triarch's gaze sharpened. "You speak of Daenerys Targaryen," he said, voice flat. "The girl with dragons." Racker inclined his head. "She is the Lord's instrument," he said, "or she will be consumed by those who understand what she is." The fat Triarch snorted. "We are Volantis," he said. "We do not kneel to a girl in a slave city." Maegor's laugh was harsh. "Then do not," he said. "But do not pretend she will not come. Every rumor in every harbor says she plans to sail south." The young Triarch's eyes narrowed. "If she reaches Valyria first." The thin Triarch finished the thought. "Then Volantis becomes a supplicant." Silence settled, heavy as chain. Outside the arches, the Rhoyne glittered under a sky that was too pale, too cold. Somewhere beyond Volantis's walls, Benero's sermons lit fires in the hearts of the poor, and those fires had begun to creep toward the palaces. The fat Triarch leaned forward, rings catching light. "We will send more ships," he said, voice steadier now. "More men, more priests. We will claim what rises." "And if the beast returns?" Maegor asked. The young Triarch smiled thinly. "Then it will learn," he said, "that Volantis still remembers how to rule." Maegor wanted to ask how men without dragons meant to teach such a lesson, but he kept his mouth shut. Triarchs did not like being reminded of their limits. Racker's burned hands spread as if blessing them. "Fire will answer fire," he whispered. Maegor looked down at the black blot of Valyria on the map and felt, for the first time in his life, truly small. In Bravos, The fog came like a curtain drawn by unseen hands. It muffled the sounds of the canals and softened the edges of buildings until the city seemed made of ghosts and stone. The house of black and white sat within that fog like a patient mouth. Inside, candles burned with steady, indifferent light. Statues watched with carved eyes. The air smelled faintly of incense and old water. A veiled woman stood before a man in simple robes. His face was plain, forgettable, the kind you could pass on a street and not recall moments later. Only his stillness gave him weight. She placed a coin on the table, iron stamped with a seal. Then she placed a slip of parchment beside it. "A name," she said. The man's eyes flicked to the parchment. He did not touch it. "A gift," he said softly. "And a request." "A debt," the woman corrected. Her voice was controlled, careful. "Bravos does not bow. If dragons rise, men will try to make us." The man's mouth did not move much when he spoke. "Men always try," he said. "Sometimes they succeed." "Not this time," the veiled woman replied. The faceless man tilted his head slightly. "The many-faced God hears all prayers," he said. "But he does not answer all in the way supplicants hope." The woman's gloved fingers tightened. "We do not pray," she said. "We pay." A faint smile touched the man's lips, gone as quickly as it came. "All men pay," he said. "Some with coin, some with blood, some with what they love." The woman's voice sharpened. "The name," she insisted. "It is a rider." The man's eyes lifted to her veil. "Dragonlords," he said, as if tasting the word. "Once, the slaves of Valyria prayed for such men to die. The prayers built this city." "Yes," the woman said. "Then you understand." The faceless man's gaze drifted to the bowl of dark water on the table. Its surface was still, reflecting candlelight like scattered stars. "A name is not enough," he said. "A life is taken for a life. What life do you offer?" The woman hesitated. In the Iron Bank, hesitation was a weakness. Here it was a confession. "We offer," she said slowly, "the life of a future." The faceless man's eyes narrowed a fraction, the only sign of interest. "Explain." "If dragons multiply," the woman said, voice low, "trade dies. Coin loses meaning. Slavery returns behind scales. Bravos becomes a story. That future is a life." The faceless man considered her. "You are afraid," he said gently, and it was not mockery. It was observation. The woman's hands did not shake. "Yes," she admitted. "We are." The man reached out at last and took the parchment. His fingers were ordinary, no rings, no scars. "A death may be given," he said. "But understand, the many-faced God takes his due in ways men cannot count." The woman's breath was shallow beneath her veil. "When?" she asked. "When the name is ready," he replied. He lifted the coin. "And when the God has chosen the face." Outside, fog slid along the canal. A gondola passed with a soft splash, carrying laughter muffled as if from far away. In the house of black and white, the candle flames did not flicker. The man folded the parchment and slipped it into his robe, and somewhere in the shadows, other faces waited. By the third day, the hatchling had learned the taste of fear. It liked it. It perched on Hrazef's forearm like a crown made of claws, heavier now, its belly fuller, its wings less crumpled. When it breathed, smoke curled from its nostrils. When it blinked, its eyes looked less like a beast's and more like a thought. Khal Oryk rode at the head of the Khalasar, laughing as the Dothraki surged around him like a sea of braided hair and aurochs. They had fallen upon a caravan at dawn. Qarthine merchants, fat with spices and silk, guarded by men who looked brave until they heard the hiss. The guards broke quickly. Men always did when the world gave them something new to fear. Hrazef rode close to the call, as ordered, arm held out so the dragon could see. The creature's head turned, tracking movement with hungry precision. When a guard tried to flee, the hatchling's eyes followed him like a blade. "Show them," Khal Oryk commanded, voice booming. Hrazef's mouth went dry. He did not want to. He wanted to keep the creature small and secret because small things were easier to survive. But the Khal wanted spectacle, and spectacle was how Dothraki power was measured. Rhoyne lifted his arm. The hatchling opened its mouth. Flame poured out. Not a thin thread now, but a real breath, bright and hot. It washed over the fleeing guard's back. He screamed, staggered, fell, rolled in the grass, and did not rise again. The smell of burnt hair and cooked flesh hit Rhoyne's nose and made his stomach twist. The Dothraki roared with delight. Khal Oryk laughed so hard his bells chimed. "A stallion made of fire," he shouted, and the Khalasar echoed him, voices rolling over the grass sea like thunder. Rhoyne stared at the charred shape on the ground. He had killed men with an arak. He had killed men with a spear. Those deaths had weight. This one felt easy. Too easy. The hatchling hissed, pleased, and then, unexpectedly, leaned down and bit at the air as if tasting the smoke. Khal Oryk rode closer, eyes bright with hunger. "It grows," he said, and the way he said it made it sound like a promise. He held out a strip of raw horseflesh. The hatchling sniffed, then snapped it from his fingers with a sharp bite. Khal Oryk did not flinch. Blood welled again. He smiled. "It knows my blood," he said louder, for all to hear. "It will know my enemies." A woman near the captured wagons clutched her child and stared, face pale. A Qarthine merchant knelt in the grass with hands bound, lips trembling. "Please," he whispered. "Take my gold, take my silk." Khal Oryk drew his arak and tilted the man's chin up with its curve. "Gold is soft," he said. "Silk burns." He looked at Rhoyne. "Tell me," he demanded, "what lies west?" Rhoyne swallowed. "Cities," he said. "Stone walls. Slaves. Meereen." Khal Oryk's smile widened. "Meereen has the Dragon Queen," he said. "And now the Grass Sea has its own fire." The hatchling lifted its head at the word dragon, as if recognizing a kin call carried on the wind. It made a sound, deeper than before, and for a heartbeat, Rhoyne thought he heard an answer far away. Faint, but real. Somewhere beyond the horizon, other dragons were waking. The world was filling with wings. Khal Oryk raised his arak to the sky. "We ride," he declared. "We ride toward the woman with 3 dragons and take what the world offers." The Khalasar roared approval. Horses surged forward. The burning caravan crackled behind them, smoke rising into a sky that felt too pale, too cold. On Rhoyne's arm, the hatchling tightened its claws, digging into flesh, and Rhoyne realized with a sick certainty that he was no longer holding the dragon. The dragon was holding him. Qarth did not admit fear in public. It wore fear beneath perfume like sweat beneath silk. In Quetzalcoatl's private chamber, the air was thick with incense and jasmine. The drapes were blue enough to make the candle's flame look even stranger. The glass candle burned in the center of the room, blue light twisting over faces and turning eyes into pits. Uxan Kuzo watched the kneeling young man with a hunger that was not quite human. The boy, though he was old enough to be married twice over, shook as if cold, silver-streaked hair damp with sweat. His lips moved soundlessly, murmuring something he could not understand. Quetzalcoatl sat with her spine straight, jewelry gleaming. She did not like warlocks. She did not like their smiles, their blue lips, the way they spoke as if the world were a puzzle meant to be solved by cutting it apart. But she liked power, and power was shifting. "He is pure-born," she said, voice clipped. "His mother's line claims Valyrian blood, distant but true. Will that satisfy your requirements?" Uxan Kuzo's fingers hovered over the candle flame. The blue fire did not burn him. "The world is changing," he murmured. "Blood matters less than it once did. The door is open, and things slip through that never could before." One of the other warlocks laughed softly. "Still," he said, "a door is easier to walk through if you have the right key." The young man's eyes snapped open. For a heartbeat, they looked violet. Truly violet, not the faint illusion of certain lights. He gasped as if drowning and then inhaled, sharp and desperate. Quetzalcoatl's stomach tightened. "What do you see?" she demanded, leaning forward despite herself. The young man's mouth worked. "Stone," he whispered. "Black stone rising, water steaming, a heartbeat under the sea." Quetzalcoatl's smile widened. "Yes," he breathed. "Yes. And dragons," the young man rasped. "So many, in hands that should not hold them, in temples, in vaults, in mud." Quetzalcoatl's nails dug into her palm. "Can you bind them?" she asked. "Can you bring one to Qarth?" Quetzalcoatl's gaze slid to her, amused. "Bind?" he echoed. "You still think in chains. Dragons are not slaves. They can be controlled," Quetzalcoatl insisted. "Everything can be controlled." Quetzalcoatl's smile turned sharp. "Yes," he said, "but not by you." The blue flame flared, and shadows on the wall twisted, briefly forming the shape of wings. Servants at the door whimpered, making signs against evil. The young man's body arched, hands clawing at the stone floor. "A queen," he choked out. "Silver hair, fire in her eyes. Daenerys Targaryen," Quetzalcoatl spat, contempt and fear braided. "She will come for Valyria. She will take what rises. Unless," Quetzalcoatl murmured, "we offer her something she cannot ignore." Quetzalcoatl's eyes narrowed. "What?" Quetzalcoatl leaned down close to the candle, and the blue light painted his lips darker. "A rival," he said softly. "A dragonlord not born of her, not kneeling to her. Someone to fracture her certainty." He nodded toward the trembling young man. "This one," he said. "He will be the seed. He will be the bait. We will whisper to him until he believes the dragons were meant for him." Quetzalcoatl stared at the boy, and for a moment she saw not a person but a tool, beautiful, breakable, useful. "And if he dies?" she asked. Quetzalcoatl's smile did not falter. "Then another will rise," he said. "That is the nature of fire when the world is dry." The young man's eyes rolled back. "The sea is breathing," he whispered faintly. "It is breathing cold." Outside, Qarth's gardens rustled. Perfume drifted. Merchants bargained. The city pretended the world remained stable. Inside, the blue flame burned steadily, and plans took shape like knives in the dark. They filled her hall with eyes. Freedmen stood shoulder to shoulder with former masters, an uneasy mixture of pride and resentment. Some stared at Daenerys as if she were salvation. Others stared as if waiting for her to make a mistake so they could pounce. Meereen's politics were a nest of snakes. Now someone had tossed fire into it. Daenerys stood at the dais where the old masters had once sat, and she felt the weight of that stolen power. Above, the high windows let in a cold wind that made the torches flicker and the hall feel less like a palace and more like a cave. Missandei held a sealed letter, its wax marked with a tiger. Volantis. Ser Barristan's face was grim. Grey Worm's posture was rigid. Hisdar Zolorak looked like a man standing near a cliff, trying not to glance down. Dario's hand rested on his sword. Tyrion stood off to one side, watching the room as if counting the exits. Daenerys lifted her chin. "Meereen has heard whispers," she said. "Whispers of eggs cracking, of dragons hatching." The hall murmured. Some crossed themselves. Others leaned forward, hungry. "I will tell you the truth," Daenerys continued. "It is happening, not only here, across Essos." The murmurs swelled into noise. Fear, excitement, anger. A freedman shouted praise. A noble hissed a curse. Daenerys raised a hand, and Grey Worm stepped forward, spear but striking stone with a hard crack. The sound cut through the hall like a command. "The world is changing," Daenerys said, "and because it is changing, men will come for Meereen. Not for its pyramids, not for its markets, for dragons." Hisdar's mouth tightened. "You should not speak of this openly," he murmured through clenched teeth. "They will know anyway," Tyrion said quietly, and Daenerys heard him. "Secrets don't survive hunger." Daenerys glanced at Missandei. "Read," she commanded. Missandei broke the seal and unrolled the letter. Her voice was clear, steady, but Daenerys saw the tension in her shoulders. "From the Triarchs of Volantis," she read. "They send greetings to the Queen of Meereen. They speak of trade and friendship. They speak of the rising of Valyria." The hall shifted. The word Valyria moved through them like a chill. "They request," Missandei continued, "a meeting. They offer ships and soldiers to aid the Queen in managing the new fire. They warn of false dragonlords and rogues who will bring chaos. They declare Volantis will send an expedition to the Smoking Sea to secure the ruins before lesser hands do." Dario barked a laugh. "They offer help with one hand and reach for your throat with the other," he said. Hisdar's voice sharpened. "Volantis is not to be mocked," he warned. "It is powerful. And hungry," Tyrion murmured. "Never forget hungry." Daenerys stepped forward. The hall's noise fell, as if the crowd sensed something in her. "Volantis wants Valyria," she said. "Qarth wants it. Braavos fears it. The Dothraki will smell it like blood. They will all come." Faces tightened. Even men who had never sailed could imagine ships filled with soldiers, could imagine foreign banners above their walls. "I will not wait," Daenerys said. "I will go to the source. I will see what is happening. I will learn why dragons are hatching in strangers' hands." The hall erupted. Outrage, terror, disbelief. A freedman shouted, "You cannot leave us." A noble sneered, "Run to your cursed stones, then. Meereen will tear itself apart without you." Grey Worm's jaw clenched. Ser Barristan's eyes closed briefly, as if in prayer. Hisdar stepped closer, voice urgent. "If you leave, you invite rebellion," he hissed. "The sons of the Harpy will strike. The camps will riot. The masters will. And if I stay," Daenerys cut in, voice hard, "the world catches fire beyond my walls and brings the flames here anyway." Tyrion spoke then, loud enough for those nearest to hear. "If the Queen goes, she must leave strength behind," he said. "Not a vacuum." Dario's eyes narrowed. "You have advice already, little man?" Tyrion's smile was thin. "It's a habit," he said. "Some people drink. Some people bleed. I talk." Daenerys looked down at the faces below. People she had freed, people who hated her, people who needed her. She felt the pull of duty like a chain around her own wrists. "I will not abandon Meereen," she said, and the words surprised even her. "I will leave a hand, a regent, someone to hold this city while I face what rises." Hisdar's eyes widened. "You mean?" Daenerys's gaze locked on him. "Yes," she said. "You will rule in my name while I am gone." The hall erupted again, louder. Hisdar went pale, then flushed, caught between triumph and dread. Dario's face darkened. Ser Barristan's mouth tightened, but he did not speak. Grey Worm's voice was quiet, deadly. "If he betrays," he said, eyes on Hisdar, "he dies." Hisdar swallowed. "I will not betray," he said, but his voice sounded thin. Daenerys lifted her hand again. "This is not a gift," she told Hisdar. "It is a leash. Meereen is mine. My people are mine. If you fail them, the dragons will not forgive you." Somewhere above, a roar echoed, Drogon, circling, restless. The sound rolled through the hall like thunder. Daenerys let it settle in their bones. "Prepare," she commanded. "Strengthen the walls. Watch the streets. Feed the hungry. And pray, if you believe in gods, that what beats under Valyria's sea can still be stopped." They left at dusk, when Meereen's streets were crowded enough with noise to hide the sound of goodbyes. Daenerys stood on the lead ship's deck with the wind tugging at her cloak and the taste of iron thickening as the shore fell behind. The fleet was small, fast ships, not war galleys heavy with pride. She could not bring an army to Valyria. Armies died there. She brought only what she could protect and what she could trust. Ser Barristan insisted on armor, though the sea did not care for steel. Grey Worm brought a handful of unsullied, silent and disciplined, their spears upright like a forest. Missandei came because Daenerys could not imagine facing the world without her voice. Yora came because he would not be stopped, and because punishment could wait until the world was not cracking open. Tyrion came because Daenerys allowed it, and because he looked at danger the way other men looked at wine, as something to be tasted, judged, survived. Drogon flew overhead, circling the fleet like a dark god. He did not like ships. He liked open sky. Yet he stayed, drawn by whatever called from the south. As they sailed, the air grew colder. The sea became oddly still, as if holding its breath. At midnight, a faint steam appeared on the horizon, rising from water that should have been cold and dead. Tyrion gripped the rail, knuckles white. "I always thought the end of the world would be warmer," he muttered. Daenerys did not answer. Her eyes were fixed on the steam, on the pale line where the horizon seemed too sharp. Missandei's voice trembled. "It is like the world is exhaling," she whispered. Ser Barristan's gaze was hard. "Keep your distance," he warned the captain. "No closer than we must." Grey Worm's eyes scanned the water as if expecting enemies to rise from it. "No men fight here," he said quietly. "Only ghosts." Yora stepped beside Daenerys, his presence heavy. "Do you regret?" he asked, voice low enough that only she could hear. Daenerys tasted the question. Regret. It was a luxury, like softness. "I regret nothing that keeps my people alive," she said. Yora nodded, though his eyes looked haunted. "I have sailed these waters once," he admitted. "Long ago, not to Valyria, near it. My men would not go closer. They said the sea tried to swallow their prayers." "And did it?" Tyrion asked, stepping nearer, curiosity sharp. Yora's mouth tightened. "My brother died," he said. "Not by sword, not by storm. He simply sickened, coughed ash, went gray, fell. The sea did not take him. The Doom did." Missandei swallowed hard. "Then why does it reverse?" she asked. "Why now?" Daenerys watched Drogon wheel overhead. The dragon's wings beat slower, as if the air itself thickened around him. "Because something wants it," she said, and the words felt true in a way she could not prove. The steam bank grew closer. The air tasted cleaner, stranger. Less poison, more iron. The ship's lanterns burned steadily, but their light seemed smaller against the growing pale haze. Then the rumble came. It rose through the hull like a drum beneath water. The deck vibrated. Men on the lower decks cried out. One sailor fell to his knees, hands clasped. Another vomited over the side. Tyrion's face went pale, but he did not step back. "That," he said, voice tight, "is not the sea." Daenerys felt it in her chest, the slow beating cadence, patient as a giant's heart. Drogon roared above them, the sound cutting through the night, and for a heartbeat the rumble answered, deeper, older. Ser Barristan drew his sword with a ringing whisper. The gesture was absurd against a heartbeat, but it steadied him. "Your Grace," he said, voice strained. "We should turn back." Daenerys did not move. Her braid whipped against her cheek in the cold wind. She stared into the pale haze, and she knew that turning back would not change what was coming. "Forward," she commanded. The captain hesitated, then barked orders. The sails shifted. The ship cut into steam, and the world ahead began to take shape. Black stones rising like teeth, the outline of broken towers, the suggestion of an ancient city lifting itself from drowning. Tyrion's breath caught. "Well," he whispered, "there's your homecoming." Daenerys did not feel welcome. She felt watched. Dawn in Valyria was not gold. It was pale, cold light spilling over black stone like milk poured on char. The steam made it diffuse, softening edges that should have been sharp. Yet the ruins themselves were sharp, rising from the water like knives. Daenerys stood at the bow and felt Drogon's heat behind her. He had landed on a broken stone spur jutting from the sea, claws scraping, wings half spread for balance. His head was raised, nostrils flaring, tasting air that had once been his kind's cradle and tomb. The ship eased toward the rock, and the captain's hands shook on the ropes. Men muttered prayers. Some wept without knowing why. Grey worms unsullied stepped down first, boots slipping on wet black stone. Their discipline did not waver, but Daenerys could see tension in the set of their shoulders. They were soldiers, and soldiers liked enemies that bled and died. Valyria did not offer such clarity. Ser Barristan followed, sword drawn, eyes narrowed as if he could cut mist with steel. Tyrion moved carefully, one hand on the rail, the other gripping his cloak against the cold wind. "Beautiful," Tyrion breathed, and his voice held no humor now, only awe and horror. "In the way a grave is beautiful." Daenerys stepped onto the rock. It was warm beneath her boot, faintly, like stone near a hearth long after the fire has died. The warmth pulsed once, subtle, and she froze. Salive, she thought, or something beneath it is. The air smelled of iron and old smoke, but it also smelled, impossibly, fresh, like rain that never reached this cursed place before. They moved inland along a cracked avenue of fused black stone. The buildings on either side were half collapsed, their shapes strange, graceful even in ruin. Valyria had not built like other men. It had built like gods. Drogon followed above, hopping from stone to stone, wings flaring as he tested the air. He was restless, head-turning, ears, if such a beast could be said to have ears, attuned to sounds men could not hear. Then, from the mist ahead, something crawled. Daenerys lifted her hand, and grey worms' spears angled. Ser Barristan stepped forward, sword raised. A man emerged, dragging himself across the wet stone. His armor was Volantine, bronze once, now torn and blackened. His face was streaked with ash, eyes wild. He looked up at them and made a sound that might have been laughter or sobbing. "Help!" he croaked. "By all gods, help!" Grey Worm's voice was hard. "Volantis!" he spat. The man's eyes fixed on Daenerys, and terror sharpened his features. "Dragon Queen!" he whispered. You came too late." Daenerys stepped closer, careful. "What happened?" she demanded. The man's cracked lips trembled. "We went into the hall," he rasped. The stone shook. The torches went pale. "We heard it." His eyes rolled, and for a moment he looked like a child remembering a monster under a bed. A roar. The air burned and froze at once. Tyrion crouched near him, grimacing at the smell. "And the eggs?" he asked quietly. "Did you find any?" The Volantine survivor laughed, a broken sound. "Eggs," he whispered. "There are eggs everywhere. In walls, in pits, in the sea itself. They are waking." Daenerys felt her pulse quicken. "Where?" She pressed. The man's hand lifted weakly and pointed past them, toward a crack in the avenue where the stone split open like a wound. Steam rose from it, and beneath the steam, a red glow pulsed, slow and steady. The heartbeat. Daenerys's breath caught. The glow beat again, and the stone under her feet vibrated faintly in answer. Drogon's head snapped toward the fissure. A low rumble built in his throat, not a roar, but something like a warning. Ser Barristan's sword trembled slightly. "Your Grace," he said, voice tight. "We should not go near that." Daenerys stared at the fissure. The red glow pulsed again, and for an instant she thought she saw movement far below. Pale, slick, vanishing into darkness. Fireworms, she thought, or something worse. The Volantine survivor grabbed her cloak weakly, fingers smearing ash. "Do not," he pleaded. "It is not just stone. It is a heart. It is hungry." Daenerys looked down at him, and then at the fissure, and then up at Drogon, who watched her with eyes like molten night. She had come seeking answers. Valyria offered only a deeper question. Who or what was waking, and why had it begun to breathe cold? Daenerys stepped toward the glowing crack, and the heartbeat under the stone seemed to quicken, as if it had heard her approach. The crack in the avenue breathed like a living throat. Steam rose in slow, steady pulses that matched the red glow below, and the glow matched the drumbeat Daenerys felt in her bones. The Volantine survivor's fingers still clung to her cloak, weak as a dying child's grasp. Grey Worm pried them loose with careful hands, not unkind, and eased the man back onto the stone. "Water," Daenerys ordered. Missandei was already kneeling, lifting the man's head and pressing a skin to his mouth. He drank as if he might swallow the sea itself, then choked and coughed, spitting ash. His eyes rolled toward the fissure with naked terror. "It listens," he rasped. Tyrion crouched near the edge, keeping his body angled away as if the crack might leap up and bite him. "All the best things do," he said, though his voice had lost its levity. He peered down, squinting into the steam. "It's deeper than it should be, deeper than any crack made by ordinary stone." Ser Barristan stepped forward, sword still drawn, its bright steel looking ridiculous against black rock and ancient fire. "Your Grace," he said, and there was pleading in the words he tried to keep stern. "You have seen enough. We have confirmed the threat. We should return to the ships." Daenerys did not look at him. Her gaze stayed on the red pulse. The warmth on her face rose and fell, hot and then cold, as if the fissure exhaled fire and inhaled winter. "We have confirmed nothing," she said. "We have only found the mouth. I want to see what speaks through it." Grey Worm's voice was flat. "It is a trap. Everything is a trap," Tyrion murmured. "The question is whether it's a trap for us or for the world." Yura stepped close, chainless now, but carrying the weight of chains anyway. He did not touch Daenerys, not yet. "If you go down," he said quietly, "let it be us who go first, not you." Daenerys glanced at him. His face was lined and drawn, eyes fixed on her as if she were a star he could not stop following. There was devotion there and guilt and something fiercer. The need to prove himself in a place where proving might mean death. "You will not command me," she said, soft enough that only he could hear. "Not again." Yura bowed his head. "Never," he whispered. The Unsullied brought rope and iron spikes from the packs they had carried off the ship. Grey Worm hammered the spikes into the fused stone with the butt of his spear, each strike ringing strangely, as if the rock were hollow beneath. The sound traveled into the fissure and came back thin and distorted, like laughter heard through water. Daenerys took a lantern from one of the sailors. The flame inside it burned steady, but when she held it over the crack, it flickered pale, then blazed scarlet, then went pale again. Missandei gasped softly. "It doesn't like the light," Missandei whispered. "It likes it too much," Tyrion corrected. "It's tasting it." The lantern's glow pushed back the steam for a heartbeat, and Daenerys saw shapes below. Stone walls slick with moisture, carved with lines that looked like writing, and deeper still, a red shine pulsing through the rock like veins under skin. In one niche, half hidden by the curve of the fissure, something oval gleamed wetly. An egg. Daenerys's breath caught. She leaned closer despite Ser Barristan's sharp intake of breath, despite Grey Worm's hand lifting as if to pull her back. The egg's surface was dark, marbled with bronze, and it was not stone. It was alive in the way her own had been alive on the day she burned. The heartbeat thudded once, heavier, and the egg's sheen seemed to shift as if it rolled within its cradle. A sound scraped up from below. Not stone, not water, something wet and hard, moving through the crack with patient certainty. Grey Worm thrust his spear toward the fissure on instinct, as if steel could pin a nightmare. Ser Barristan stepped in front of Daenerys, sword raised. Yura's hand closed around Daenerys's wrist and pulled her back a pace. The scraping grew louder. Steam surged up, swallowing the lantern light. For a moment the fissure was only mist and red glow, and then a pale shape rose into view. Slick, eyeless, ridged along its length, its skin the color of old bone. It was not a dragon. There were no wings, no proud head, no gleaming eyes. It was a worm, but larger than any serpent, its body thick enough that it wedged the crack wider as it came, stone groaning like a wounded thing. Its mouth opened, and rows of teeth glistened, too many, too fine. Heat rolled from it in a wave that turned the cold air to sweat in an instant, and then the heat vanished as quickly as it came, sucked away by the fisher's breathing. The creature snapped toward the lantern. Daenerys saw the flame reflected in wet teeth. She smelled sulfur and blood. The lantern swung, slipping from her grip, dangling on its hook from the rope they had tied, and the creature lunged again. Grey Worm drove his spear down, the iron tip striking the worm's head with a ringing thunk that sounded wrong, like metal on stone. The creature recoiled, and the fisher's steam surged, hiding it again. Then Drogon roared. The sound hit Daenerys like a physical blow, vibrating through bone. Above them, wings beat, and hot wind pushed the steam aside. Drogon's shadow crossed the crack as he landed hard on the avenue, claws scraping for purchase. His head lowered, nostrils flaring, eyes fixed on the fisher with a fury that looked like fear turned outward. He breathed fire into the crack. Flame poured down, bright as a new sun. The steam vanished in an instant, burned away, and for a heartbeat the fisher was clear. Clear enough that Daenerys saw the worm's pale body thrash below, saw the egg niches lining the stone like honeycomb, saw the runes carved around them, and saw the red glow deep beneath everything, pulsing like a heart. The worm screamed. It was not a roar. It was a shriek like metal tearing. It vanished downward, withdrawing with frantic speed, stone grinding as it squeezed back into the depths. The fissure snapped shut a fraction, then widened again, breathing steam as if nothing had happened. Drogon lifted his head and hissed, smoke curling from his mouth. He did not look pleased. He looked offended, as if something beneath the earth had dared to challenge him. Daenerys stared into the crack, heart hammering to match the one beneath Valyria. "Fireworms," she whispered, remembering the stories her brother had told, half mocking, half afraid. The creatures that lived beneath the 14 flames, the ones Valyria had chained with sorcery and blood. "They are awake," Ser Barristan said, voice tight. "And the eggs?" Tyrion murmured, eyes still fixed on the niches. "The eggs are waking too." Daenerys looked at the steam, at the red pulse, at the place where the worm had risen. Her skin prickled with a strange certainty that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with recognition. This was not a ruin. This was a womb. "We go no deeper," Ser Barristan said quickly, as if he could trap her decision with words. "Not now." Daenerys turned her head slowly and met his gaze. "Not now," she agreed, and Ser Barristan exhaled in relief he did not deserve yet. "We go to find the door that leads to the heart without crawling down its throat." The heartbeat answered, slow and patient, as if amused. They dragged the Volantene survivor back toward the landing rocks, away from the fisher's breathing mouth, and the man fought them with the weak strength of panic. "Not there," he croaked, eyes rolling toward the inland ruins. "Not the hall, not the red stones." Grey Worm's face did not change. He carried the man as he would carry any burden, with silent efficiency, but his eyes flicked once to the black city rising out of steam, and Daenerys saw a soldier's unease. There were no formations here, no lines, no ground a man could hold. They reached the rock spur where their ships bobbed in gray water, sails loose, crews clustered together like frightened birds. The captains looked at Daenerys with pleading in their eyes, as if she could command the sea to behave. The steam around Valyria drifted in thin veils now, and every hour it seemed to thin further, revealing more broken stone. "Anchor farther out," Ser Barristan ordered, voice hard. "If the sea shifts, we will not be caught." The captains obeyed, grateful for any command that sounded like safety. They set a small camp on the black rock. Lanterns hung from makeshift poles, bedrolls laid on cloaks, water skins and hard bread unpacked. The stone beneath the camp was warm in patches, cold in others, as if the earth could not decide what it wanted to be. The Volantene survivor lay on his side, coughing ash. Missandei pressed a damp cloth to his forehead while Tyrion watched with the detached focus of a man who had seen too many deaths to be surprised by another. "He will die," Tyrion said quietly. Missandei's eyes flashed. "Not if we." Tyrion shook his head. "Not because we cannot help," he said, Because Valyria has decided he's done. Daenerys knelt beside the man. His lips were cracked and bleeding. His eyes found hers, and for a moment the terror faded into something like pleading understanding. "You heard it," he whispered. "The heart." "Yes," Daenerys said. "Tell me where to find it." He laughed, a wet, broken sound. "Everywhere," he rasped. "Under the stones, under the sea. It beats and the city answers. It wakes the eggs and the worms and the dead things in the tunnels." Yora hovered behind her, silent as a sentinel. Drogon paced along the rock's edge, wings half spread as he watched the inland ruins, his tail lashing against stone. He did not stray far from Daenerys now, not as he had in Meereen. Valyria made him cling. The survivor's gaze drifted past Daenerys, toward Drogon. Fear flared again. "That one," he whispered. "He hates it. He knows." Daenerys did not deny it. "How did your expedition die?" she asked. The man swallowed with effort. "We went into the hall," he rasped. A great hall with dragons carved in the stone. The torches burned pale. The stone breathed. Some men ran. Some prayed. Then the shadow passed over us. His eyes widened, seeing it again. So big, so old. It did not land. It only circled, and the air screamed. Men fell to their knees. One of the priests burned hands. He laughed. "He said the Lord was coming." "The priest," Tyrion said sharply. "A red priest? Burned hands." The survivor nodded faintly. "He went down," he whispered. "Into the crack. He said he would speak to the heart." "And," Daenerys demanded. The survivor's mouth trembled. "He came back," he whispered, "but not whole." His eyes were gone. He spoke with another voice. He said the doom was a lock. He said the lock was opening. Then he burst. The man's throat bobbed as he forced the words out. "Burst into ash and worms." Missandei made a small sound of horror and looked away. Ser Barristan's face had gone gray beneath his tan. "Seven save us," he muttered, then seemed to realize there were no seven here. The survivor's breathing grew shallow. "The heart wants riders," he whispered. "It wants fire in the sky again. It wants the world to burn and be remade." Daenerys felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold wind. "Why does it breathe cold?" she asked, because the question gnawed at her. The survivor's eyes flicked to the sea, to the steam rising from warm water. "It is drawing," he whispered. "Drawing heat into itself. The sea chills so the heart can feed. It is drinking the world." His eyes fluttered. His hand lifted weakly and brushed Daenerys' sleeve, smearing ash. "Do not let them take it," he breathed. "Volantis, Qarth, the coin men, they will make it worse." Daenerys caught his hand. It was light as paper. "I will not," she promised. The man's grip tightened for one heartbeat, then loosened. His eyes stared at nothing. His chest rose once more, then did not rise again. Missandei bowed her head, lips moving soundlessly as if praying in a tongue no god cared to understand. Tyrion exhaled slowly. "Well," he murmured. "That was cheerfully unhelpful." Daenerys rose. The ash on her sleeve looked like a stain. "He told us enough," she said. "The doom was a lock." Ser Barristan's gaze snapped to her. "Your Grace." Daenerys lifted a hand, cutting him off. "We find the mechanism," she said. "Not the mouth, not the throat, the mechanism." She turned toward the inland ruins. The steam was thinner now, revealing an archway in the distance. Black stone carved with curling dragons, the same shapes Maegor Waters had described in Volantis, the same hall the survivor had feared. Drogon's head lifted, nostrils flaring, and he let out a low sound that was almost a growl. The heartbeat beneath the sea answered, steady and patient, as if it had been waiting for her to decide. They moved into Valyria as if walking into a dream that wanted to become a nightmare. The black stone avenue led them between half-drowned towers and broken domes, the architecture beautiful in its ruin, too elegant to have belonged to men who lived like other men. Steam drifted in ribbons across their path, thinning enough now that Daenerys could see farther than before. Each new step revealed more of the city, as if Valyria were lifting itself out of drowning piece by piece. The air was cleaner inland, and that terrified her more than the poison would have. Poison was honest. Clean air in Valyria was a lie. Grey Worm led with a wedge of unsullied, spears angled, eyes scanning cracks and rubble. Ser Barristan walked beside Daenerys, sword sheathed now but his hand never far from it. Tyrion kept to the center of their small formation, muttering under his breath about the absurdity of trusting fused stone not to swallow him. Yora walked close behind Daenerys, close enough that she could feel his presence like a shield. Drogon followed above, leaping from one broken stone spur to another, wings half open, as if he did not trust the ground either. They passed a statue half submerged in a steaming pool, an old Valyrian dragonlord carved in black stone, face smooth with age, a dragon coiled around his shoulders like a cloak. The water around the statue bubbled softly, not boiling, but warm enough to send steam into the cold air. The statue's eyes were empty hollows, and yet Daenerys felt watched. Valyria liked to look at itself, Tyrion murmured, studying the statue. Even its ruins are vain. A soft scrape drew Grey Worm's attention. His spear jerked toward a pile of fallen masonry beside the pool. Something moved between stones, quick and low. Daenerys held up a hand. "Wait," she whispered. The stones shifted, and a small head pushed through, dark, slick, eyes bright. A hatchling, no larger than a house cat, crawled free, wings crumpled and wet. It blinked at the pale daylight and hissed. An unsullied stepped forward, spear tip lowering, instinct eager to kill what might kill him. Daenerys' voice snapped. "No." Grey Worm's eyes flicked to her, then to his man. A sharp gesture, and the spear lifted again, held back by discipline. The hatchling's head turned, nostrils flaring, tasting. It looked at the Unsullied with interest, then at Tyrion, then at Ser Barristan, and then it fixed on Daenerys. Daenerys felt the same pull she had felt in Meereen's market, a tug in the blood like a hook. She took one slow step forward and lowered her hand, palm open. "Easy," she said, voice soft. The hatchling hissed again, but it did not flee. It crawled over stone, claws clicking, drawn toward her warmth. Its belly dragged, still heavy with the last of its egg. Steam rose from its skin where the cold air hit. Behind it, another stone shifted. A second hatchling emerged, this one paler, bronze-veined, eyes a hard amber. It snapped at the first as if jealous of its attention, and the first snapped back, tiny teeth bared. They were siblings. They were already fighting. Daenerys' throat tightened. If dragons were hatching wild in Valyria's streets, then the world would soon have dragons that no one could call back. The first hatchling reached her boot and paused, head lifted. For a heartbeat it seemed ready to climb her, to claim her as it had claimed Nyra, as the market hatchling had claimed her palm. Then Drogon landed with a heavy thud on the black stone behind Daenerys. The hatchlings froze. Drogon's shadow fell over them like night. His eyes narrowed, and he released a low, warning rumble that shook dust from the ruins. It was not a roar of attack. It was a sound of dominance, ancient and unquestionable. The hatchlings hissed, tiny throats puffing, but the defiance faltered. The first backed away, claws scrabbling. The second turned and fled between stones, slipping into a crack too small for any man to follow. The first hesitated a moment longer, looking at Daenerys as if confused, then scuttled after its sibling and vanished into the ruin's belly. Daenerys stood with her hand still outstretched, empty. Tyrion exhaled, a shaky sound. "Well," he said, "that answers the question of whether you can simply gather them like kittens." Ser Barristan's face was tight. "We should not be here," he said again, softer now, as if repetition might make it safer. Daenerys lowered her hand. The cold wind brushed her fingers, and for a moment she felt the absence of heat as sharply as pain. "They will hatch whether I am here or not," she said. "If I do not understand why, the world will drown in fire. Grey Worm's voice was grim. Dragons without masters, he said. That is worse. Yora's gaze tracked the crack where the hatchlings vanished. Dragons make their own masters, he murmured. Or they make ashes. They continued inland, and more signs appeared. Eggs embedded in walls like dark jewels, some cracked, some whole, some glowing faintly beneath thin layers of stone. In one collapsed courtyard, a nest of shells lay scattered like broken bowls, and the air smelled of fresh smoke. In another, they found a small scorch mark on a statue's face, as if a hatchling had sneezed flame and laughed. The heartbeat grew louder the deeper they went. Not only louder, closer, as if the city itself were guiding them toward it. When they reached the archway at last, Daenerys stopped and stared. The hall's entrance rose from the ruins like the jaw of a beast, dragons carved along its sides, their bodies twisting into the stone. The carvings were so detailed that Daenerys could see individual scales, the curve of each tooth. Some of the dragon eyes held inlaid gems, dark and dull, as if waiting to catch fire again. The air beneath the arch was warmer, but the warmth carried a chill beneath it, like fever with ice in the blood. Steam drifted out of the darkness beyond, thin and inviting. Drogon stood, behind Daenerys, wings twitching. He did not step under the arch. He lowered his head and watched, eyes bright, as if the hall remembered him and he remembered it. Daenerys took one breath of iron and ash and stepped into the dragon's mouth. Inside the hall, sound changed. Their footsteps did not echo the way they should have on stone. Instead, they seemed swallowed, absorbed by walls that drank noise as readily as they drank heat. The air was thick, smelling of old smoke scrubbed clean by something colder. Torches held by sailors burned in hesitant flames, flickering pale when the heartbeat thudded, flaring red between beats. The carvings inside were worse than the ones outside. Dragons lined the walls in relief, curling around scenes of conquest. Cities burning, men kneeling, chains snapping. In one panel, Daenerys saw a dragon above a pit where pale shapes writhed. Fireworms. The dragon's mouth was open, flame pouring down into the pit as if sealing it. A lock, she thought, a mouth of fire sealing a belly of worms. Tyrion traced a finger along a line of Valyrian script carved beneath a panel. He could not read it, not truly, but the shapes made his brow furrow as if he sensed meaning. They recorded their victories on walls, he muttered. Arrogance requires witnesses. Grey Worm motioned his unsullied forward. The spears dipped as they advanced, the formation tightening. Ser Barristan's face shone with sweat now despite the cold outside. Yora's eyes were fixed ahead, as if searching for a threat he could not name. The heartbeat grew louder. They reached the fissure's origin point, or something like it. A great circular chamber at the hall's core, its floor split by a crack that ran from one side to the other. Steam rose from it in steady breaths. The red glow beneath pulsed, turning the chamber's carved dragons into shifting shadows. A rope ladder hung at the chamber's edge, frayed and blackened. Volantis, proof that others had tried to descend. Missandei's voice was a whisper. "The priest," she said. "He went down." Daenerys stepped close to the crack and looked down. The steam blurred everything, but between pulses she saw the red veins in the stone, brighter here, as if the rock itself bled light. Then she heard it. The faint scrape again, closer, accompanied by a soft, wet clicking. Grey Worm's spear snapped down toward the crack. "Hold!" he commanded his men, voice hard. The crack widened a fraction with a groan like a great door opening. A pale head rose into view, larger than before, ridged, eyeless. Another followed behind it, and another, as if the fissure were a nest. The first worm opened its mouth and released a breath that was not flame but steam so hot it fogged the air, followed by a sudden chill that made the sweat on Daenerys' skin feel like ice. The nearest sailor screamed and stumbled back, skin blistering where the steam touched him. Grey Worm caught him by the collar and shoved him behind the unsullied line. "Spears!" Grey Worm snapped. The unsullied thrust in unison. Iron points struck the worm's head and slid as if the flesh were stone. One spear found a softer seam and sank in. The worm recoiled, mouth opening wide enough to swallow a man's torso. Ser Barristan moved without thinking. He stepped in and slashed, his sword ringing against the creature's ridges. Sparks flew. The blade bit shallowly, more a scrape than a wound. "Steel does nothing," Tyrion shouted, voice high with alarm. "It's like fighting a wall." Yora grabbed a torch from a sailor's hand and swung it toward the worm's face. Flame licked the pale hide. The worm flinched, recoiling from the heat, and the crack narrowed briefly as if the stone itself tried to shut. Drogon roared from the hall's entrance, the sound rolling through the chamber like thunder. He did not come in, but his roar made the worms hesitate, their mouths closing as if listening. Daenerys's mind flashed back to the carving of a dragon sealing a pit. "Fire!" she shouted. "They fear fire." Grey Worm's eyes cut to her. "We have no fire enough," he said. "We do," Tyrion snapped and pointed upward. Above them, through a crack in the chamber's ceiling, a shaft of pale daylight fell like a spear. Drogon's shadow crossed it. Drogon's head appeared briefly, enormous, peering down through broken stone. His nostrils flared. He did not like the chamber, but he liked the worms less. He opened his mouth. Flame poured down through the ceiling crack, a river of heat that turned the chamber's steam to screaming air. The fire struck the first worm and made it writhe, body thrashing against stone. The heat was so intense Daenerys felt her eyelashes crisp, but her skin did not burn. She could smell hair singe on others, hear men shout. The worm screamed again, that tearing metal sound, and withdrew, dragging itself back into the fissure with frantic speed. The other worm heads vanished too, retreating into the depths. The crack narrowed, as if relieved. Drogon's flame ceased. Smoke drifted down, black and thick. Grey worms unsullied held their formation, spears shaking from the effort of not breaking ranks in the face of something they could not stab. Ser Barristan coughed, eyes watering. "We cannot fight what lies below," he rasped. Daenerys stared at the fissure. The red glow pulsed, steady and patient, unbothered by the worm's retreat. The heartbeat continued, as if the heart beneath Valyria had not noticed their struggle. Tyrion wiped soot from his face and looked at Daenerys with grim clarity. "If those creatures are only the guards," he said, voice hoarse. "What are they guarding?" Daenerys tasted iron and ash on her tongue. "The lock," she said, "or the thing the lock was meant to hold." Missandei's fingers trembled as she reached for Daenerys' sleeve. "We should leave," she whispered. "We should go back to the ships." Daenerys looked toward the ceiling crack where Drogon's shadow hovered, restless. She thought of the eggs in the fissure niches, of the hatchlings in the streets, of a heart drinking heat from sea and sky. "No," she said softly. "Not yet." She stepped closer to the crack, ignoring Ser Barristan's sharp protest, and Dr. Up to one knee. The stone beside the fissure was etched with lines. Runes, older than any language she knew, carved deep enough that her fingertips could feel their grooves. Daenerys pressed her palm to them. The heartbeat thudded, and for a moment Valyria showed her its memory. The vision did not come as a story. It came as heat and sound and the taste of blood. Daenerys was standing in a hall that was not ruined. The black stone shone like glass, freshly polished. Torches burned bright, not pale. The air was thick with incense and hot metal. Men and women moved through the space in robes embroidered with dragons, their hair silver, their eyes hard and bright, Valyrian faces beautiful as knives. In the center of the hall, a pit yawned open, wider than the fissure she had seen, glowing red with molten veins. Pale shapes writhed beneath, fireworms coiling through stone like living smoke. Their mouths opened soundlessly in the glow. Around the pit, dragonlords stood in a ring. They held knives and their hands were wet. Blood ran down grooves cut into the floor, channeling toward the pit in thin rivers. The blood steamed when it touched the heat. A chant rose, words that made Daenerys' skull ache even in the vision. a language like fire cracking. Above them, dragons screamed, their roars echoing through the city. In the air, wings beat. In the heart beneath the stone, something answered, a pulse that shook the hall. One dragonlord stepped forward, taller than the others, his face stern, his eyes so pale they looked like ice and flame. He lifted a black glass object shaped like a wedge, covered in runes. He pressed it into a slot at the pit's edge, and the heartbeat shifted, slowing, as if the heart recognized the key. The dragonlord spoke a single word. The pit's glow dimmed. The fireworms below screamed without sound, writhing, and then the stone above them hardened, sealing them deeper. The heartbeat slowed further, becoming a patient thud, like a beast lulled to sleep. A lock, the vision whispered without words. A lock made with blood and dragon fire. Then the hall trembled. The dragonlords looked up, startled. Somewhere far away, another sound rose, screams, not of dragons but of men. The air shook with an explosion, a roar that was not any beast. The heartbeat stuttered. The black glass wedge in the slot cracked. One of the dragonlords, his face twisted in sudden fear, grabbed at it, pulling. The wedge came free with a shriek of stone. The heartbeat surged, frantic, and the pit's glow flared. The fireworms below erupted upward like rage given shape. The stone split. Heat poured out. Blood boiled. Dragons screamed above, their roars turning into panic. The dragonlords tried to chant again, tried to force the heart back to sleep, but the heart was awake now, and it was hungry. It drank heat from the air. It drank blood from the floor. It drank screams from throats. The hall collapsed. The vision fractured into fire and ash and stone melting like wax. Daenerys' own voice echoed in the chaos. Not her voice, but the voice of the heart beneath Valyria. And it spoke the same word again and again, a word that tasted like hunger. Open. Daenerys jerked back as if burned. She was on the chamber floor again, palm pressed to cold stone, the runes beneath her hand faintly warm. The heartbeat thudded once, heavy, and she felt it reverberate through her arm into her chest. Missandei cried out softly, catching Daenerys' shoulder to steady her. "Your Grace," she whispered. "What did you see?" Daenerys' breath came hard, almost panting. Sweat slicked her spine despite the cold air drifting through the hall. She looked at her palm and saw ash smudged there, and beneath the ash, a thin line of red light pulsing faintly, as if the rune had marked her. Tyrion's eyes widened. "You look like you've been slapped by a god," he said. Ser Barristan stepped closer, face tight with fear he could not hide now. "Daenerys," he said, forgetting titles. "We must leave." Daenerys lifted her gaze to the fissure. The steam rose, steady. The red glow pulsed, patient, unbothered. "The doom was a lock," she said, voice low and certain. "Not only a catastrophe. They sealed something beneath the city. The heart, the worms. They used blood and dragon fire and a key of black glass." Tyrion's expression shifted, intellect working like a knife. "And someone removed the key," he said slowly, "or it broke." Daenerys nodded. "The key cracked," she whispered, remembering the sound of black glass shrieking. "The heart woke. It drank. The doom happened because the lock failed." Ser Barristan's face went paler. "Then why now?" he demanded. "Why would it reverse?" Daenerys looked toward the entrance, where Drogon's roars still echoed faintly, where cold wind slipped in like a thief. "Because the heart is hungry again," she said. "It is drawing heat into itself. It is waking eggs and worms and ruin. It is opening." Yora's voice was rough. "Can it be sealed again?" Daenerys stared at the runes beneath her hand, at the grooves carved by ancient nails. In the vision, she had felt the black wedge click into place, felt the heartbeat slow. "It can," she said, "but we need the key." Tyrion's mouth twisted. "And if the key is broken?" Daenerys rose slowly. Her legs trembled, not from weakness, but from the weight of what she now carried. "Then we make another," she said. "Or we break the heart before it breaks the world." The heartbeat thudded again, louder, as if it heard her challenge. From the fissure, far below, came a faint scrape and a whisper of steam. The worms were listening too. Meereen did not miss Daenerys until she was gone. For the first day, Hisdar zo Lorak sat on the dais beneath the carved harpy and told himself he was holding the city together. He wore robes of green and gold, hair oiled, fingers heavy with rings that had belonged to men who had once owned other men. He spoke softly, made promises, ordered food distributed, increased the patrols. He told the freedmen the queen would return. He told the masters the queen had trusted him. He told himself the same. By the second day, the city began to remember what it had been before her. The cold wind still came from the south, slipping through alleys and under doors, carrying the taste of iron. Fires that should have warmed rooms burned strangely, flaring pale and then red, making mothers clutch their children and whisper prayers. In the market near the eastern gate, a boy brought a stone he had found in the mud. Smooth, black, warm. He showed it to friends to boast. Cracked in his hands, a hatchling crawled out, small and wet, and bit his thumb hard enough to draw blood. The hatchling tasted it and screamed. The scream drew men. The men drew knives. A freedman tried to grab the hatchling, thinking to present it to Hisdar and earn favor. The hatchling snapped at his face and breathed a thin flame that set his beard alight. People screamed, threw water, threw stones, ran. The hatchling fled into a sewer grate, leaving smoke behind. When Hisdar heard, he ordered the market closed and the Unsullied sent to search. Grey Worm's best men were gone with Daenerys. The remaining Unsullied were fewer, stretched thin, their discipline cracking under the strain of being asked to police a city that did not want policing. Daario Naharis offered to hunt the hatchling with his cell's words. Hisdar refused. Daario's men were loud and cruel, and masters and freedmen alike hated them in different ways. Hisdar needed calm, not swaggering blades. That night, the sons of the Harpy struck. They did not come in a crowd. They came in twos and threes, slipping through shadows, knives hidden beneath cloaks. They killed a freedman leader in the street, cutting his throat and leaving a harpy token on his chest. They killed a master who had publicly sworn loyalty to Daenerys, as if mocking the idea that loyalty could save anyone. They killed an unsullied patrolman, slitting his belly and leaving his spear laid across him like a joke. The city woke to blood and whispers. Hisdar summoned the council Daenerys had forced him to endure, freedmen representatives, old noble families, captains, priests. The hall smelled of smoke and fear. "We must restore order," Hisdar said, voice controlled. "Curfews, searches, punishments." A freedman leader with whip scars on his cheek spat. "Punish who?" he demanded. "The shadows? The masters who smile at you and plot at night." A noblewoman in silk lifted her chin. "The freedmen riot," she said coolly. "They burn stalls. They steal. They think the queen's absence means they can take." Daario leaned against a pillar, eyes amused. "Maybe we should hang a few," he suggested. "Masters, freedmen, whoever screams loudest. Fear works." Hisdar's jaw tightened. "You are not my advisor," he snapped. Daario smiled, slow. "No," he agreed. "I was hers." That word, hers, made Hisdar's skin prickle. He could feel Daenerys' shadow even across the sea, feel her dragon's absent gaze. Missandei's chamber in the pyramid stood empty now, her little desk abandoned. The silence there unnerved Hisdar more than Daario's knives. Missandei had been Daenerys' gentleness made flesh. Without her, the pyramid felt colder, less human. Nyra lived in a guarded room near the dragon pit, watched by Unsullied. The hatchling bonded to her grew each day, its body heavier, its wings unfurling with awkward strength. It did not like cages. It scratched at the stone, hissed at guards, and pressed itself against Nyra's skin as if trying to crawl back into the safety of her blood. Nyra's eyes were haunted. She did not sleep. When she closed her eyes, she heard distant roars, as if other dragons called to hers through the cold wind. Hisdar visited once, standing at the door as if afraid to enter. "The queen will return," he told Nyra, trying to sound kind. Nyra stared at him, violet eyes hard. "Men will come for me," she said. "They will come for him." Hizdar's mouth tightened. "You are protected." Nyra's hatchling hissed, smoke curling from its nostrils, as if it did not believe him. By the third day, a rider arrived from the east with dust on his face and terror in his eyes. "Horse lords," he panted. "A Khalasar, thousands. They ride toward Meereen." Dario's smile sharpened. "Ah," he said softly. "Now the fun begins." Hizdar's hands trembled as he reached for his goblet. The wine tasted of ash. He looked toward the south, toward the sea where Daenerys had vanished, and he realized with a sinking certainty that he was holding a city balanced on a dragon's tooth. And the dragon was not here to bite anyone but him. Nyra woke to silence so complete it felt like a hand over her mouth. The corridor outside her chamber was usually alive with small sounds. Unsullied boots shifting, spears tapping stone. The faint murmur of men who did not speak much but still breathed. Tonight there was nothing. Her hatchling stirred against her chest, warm and restless. It had grown enough that its weight pressed into her ribs, heavy as a child, and she could feel the rapid beat of its heart through cloth. When it slept, it curled itself around her like a living scarf, tail tucked beneath her chin. When it woke, it listened. It was listening now. Nyra slid from her bedroll, bare feet silent on stone. The cold wind from the south had found its way into even this deep chamber, and her breath showed faintly. She hated that. It made her feel like a ghost. She moved to the door and pressed her ear against it. Nothing. The hatchling hissed softly. Its claws flexed against her skin, not hurting, but reminding her it could. Smoke curled from its nostrils and tickled her throat. Nyra whispered in Valyrian, soothing words her mother had used when storms rattled shutters. The hatchling's wings twitched, but it did not settle. Someone outside the door shifted. Nyra's blood turned to ice. She stepped back, clutching the hatchling tighter, and the creature's head lifted, eyes bright. The door latch moved with a soft scrape. The door swung inward. An Unsullied stepped through. Nyra's lungs loosened, a breath she did not realize she had held. Then she saw his eyes. They were wrong, too aware, too curious. Unsullied eyes were flat when they watched, disciplined. These eyes studied her like a merchant studies coin. The man's spear was upright, his face expressionless. He closed the door behind him quietly. Nyra's heart hammered. "Why are you here?" she demanded, voice thin. The Unsullied did not answer. He took one slow step forward. The hatchling growled, a sound deeper than its small body should make. It pushed its head out of the cloth and bared its teeth. The man's gaze flicked to it. Something like amusement flickered across his face and vanished. Nyra's skin crawled. "Who are you?" she whispered. The man's hand moved, not to his spear, but to a small pouch at his belt. He drew out a tiny vial and held it between finger and thumb, as casual as offering wine. Nyra's mind snapped into clarity. Poison. A quick death. A silent death. She backed away until her shoulders hit the wall. "No," she whispered, though no one had asked her anything. The man stepped closer. The hatchling lunged. It moved with startling speed, claws digging into Nyra's collarbone as it launched itself at the man's face. The man jerked back, too slow. The hatchling's teeth sank into his cheek. Blood welled, dark and hot. The man made a sound then. A soft grunt, more irritation than pain. His hand shot out, faster than Nyra expected, gripping the hatchling's wing and twisting. The hatchling screamed, a thin, furious sound. Nyra screamed too. She threw herself forward, clawing at the man's arm, nails scraping against leather. The man's gaze snapped to her, cold as a blade. His other hand lifted, the vial poised. "A gift," he murmured, and his voice was not unsullied at all. It was smooth, accented, almost gentle. Nyra's blood froze. "Bravos." She had heard stories in lists of faceless killers who could wear any skin. The hatchling's mouth opened. Flame burst out, bright and sudden, striking the man's face. He recoiled with a sharp hiss, dropping the vial. It shattered on the floor, liquid splattering like black water. The smell that rose was sweet and wrong. The man's skin blistered where the flame touched. His eyes narrowed. For a heartbeat, Nyra saw something in him that might have been admiration. Then he moved. He did not flee like a common assassin. He flowed, slipping past Nyra's grasp, stepping to the door, unhooking the latch with practiced ease despite burned fingers. He paused only long enough to glance back at Nyra, his face already shifting into calm. "The many-faced god takes all," he said softly, and then he was gone. Nyra slammed the door and threw the bolt with shaking hands. The corridor outside remained silent, but now she heard distant footsteps, the real Unsullied returning, too late. The hatchling clung to her, trembling, wing held at an awkward angle. Nyra pressed her lips to its head, tears hot on its scales. "They know," she whispered in Valyrian. "They know we exist." The hatchling hissed, smoke curling. Nyra heard pounding on the door, unsullied voices, urgent, asking what happened. She could not answer. Words felt too small. In her mind, she saw Daenerys on a ship sailing south, saw black ruins rising, saw a heartbeat under the sea. She imagined men with masks and men with chains and men with blue lips all turning their eyes toward her like predators. Nyra looked down at the broken vial on the floor. The black liquid seeped into stone and vanished as if the pyramid drank it. Her hatchling's heart beat fast against her breast, and she realized with sudden, crushing certainty that her life had ended the moment the egg cracked. Not by death, but by becoming a prize. Outside the door, the cold wind slid through the corridor, carrying iron and distant fire, and Nyra understood that she was not only protected, she was caged. In Qarth, the air was warm, perfumed, and dishonest. The gardens still bloomed, the fountains still sang, and merchants still smiled as if the world beyond the walls were not tilting into fire. But beneath the perfume, something had changed. The glass candle burned, and its blue flame did not flicker. It watched. Xandaro Qo stood in the candle's light, kneeling on cool marble, sweat slicking his spine. He was pureborn, they said. His mother's mother had claimed a Valyrian ancestor, a sailor who had taken a Qarthine wife and left behind pale hair and bright eyes as a curiosity. Xandaro had always been teased for the silver streak in his dark hair, for the way certain lights made his eyes look violet. He had always been ornamental, a pretty piece in Qarth's endless game of trade. Tonight he felt like a blade. Uxan Kuzo circled him slowly, blue lips curved in a smile that promised secrets. "Do you hear it?" The warlock murmured. Xandaro's throat worked. "Yes," he whispered. He did not know how else to describe the sound in his bones, the steady pulse that seemed to come from far away and yet beat in time with his own blood. "Adrum." "The heart," Uxan Kuzo said. "Valyria's heart. It calls to those who can answer." Quetzalcoatl watched from a cushioned chair, jewelry glinting. She looked bored, but her fingers tapped her armrest in a restless rhythm. "Do not fill his head with poetry," she snapped. "We need results." Uxan Kuzo's smile sharpened. "Poetry is how men accept chains," he said. "And this one will need chains he cannot see." Servants approached with a lacquered box, carried between two trembling hands. The box was black wood, banded with bronze. It looked heavy enough to hold a skull. Uxan Kuzo took it and set it before Xandaro. "Open," he commanded. Xandaro's fingers hovered. His skin tingled, as if the box radiated warmth. "What is it?" he whispered. "A gift," Quetzalcoatl said, leaning forward now, eyes bright with hunger. "From an islet south of Lys. A relic, a possibility." Xandaro swallowed and lifted the lid. Inside lay an egg. It was smaller than he expected, perhaps the size of a melon, dark green-black marbled with bronze. It gleamed as if wet though it was dry. Heat rose from it in a steady breath. Xandaro's hands trembled as he reached out. The egg pulsed against his palm. His breath hitched. The world narrowed to warmth and the drumbeat in his bones. He felt, in that instant, something looking back at him from within the shell. Something old and hungry and curious. "Blood," Uxan Kuzo murmured. "Give it blood." Xandaro's mouth went dry. "My blood? Whose else?" Quetzalcoatl snapped. "Do you want it to hatch for a slave girl, like the rumors in Meereen? Do you want the Dragon Queen to claim it as hers? Prove you are worth the coin we spend on you." Xandaro's pride flared, sharp and desperate. He drew a small knife from his belt, ceremonial, more decoration than weapon, and sliced his palm. Blood welled. It dripped onto the egg. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the egg shuddered. A crack ran along its shell, thin as a hairline, glowing faintly. Xandaro's breath caught. He pressed his bleeding palm more firmly against the shell, smearing it with red. The crack widened. A sound came from within, soft as a sigh. Uxan Kuzo's eyes gleamed. "Yes," he breathed. The shell split and something pushed through, wet, dark, blinking. A hatchling unfolded itself with awkward grace. Wings crumpled like damp cloth. It lifted its head and fixed its bright eyes on Xandaro. It hissed. Xandaro laughed, shaky and disbelieving. Tears stung his eyes. "It's..." The hatchling lunged and bit his palm. Pain flared. Xandaro sucked in a breath, but he did not pull away. The hatchling drank, lapping at the blood with quick, eager strokes. Its tail curled around his wrist like a chain. Quetzalcoatl exhaled, satisfaction sharp. "Good," she said. "Now you are useful." Xandaro looked up at her, still dazed, still bleeding. "What do you want?" he whispered. Quetzalcoatl's smile was thin. "You will go," she said. "South, to the smoking sea." Xandaro's blood chilled despite the hatchling's warmth. "Valyria," he breathed. Uxan Kuzo leaned close, blue lips near Xandaro's ear. "You will not go as a scavenger," he whispered. "You will go as a dragonlord. You will claim what rises. You will stand where the Dragon Queen thinks she stands alone." Xandaro's mind spun. Daenerys Targaryen, the woman with dragons, the woman men whispered about like a prophecy. "And if she kills me?" Xandaro asked, voice trembling. Uxan Kuzo's smile widened, cruel and delighted. "Then you die," he said simply. "But if you live, the world changes. Either way, we learn." The glass candle's blue flame flared, and for a heartbeat the shadows on the chamber walls formed wings. Outside, Qarth's perfumes drifted on warm air. Inside, a new dragon clung to a young man's bleeding hand, and Qarth began to sharpen its knives for a game it had not played in centuries. The deeper Daenerys went, the louder the heartbeat became, until it was no longer a distant drum but a presence. A constant pressure in the air that made teeth ache and lungs feel too small. They did not climb down the fissure. They followed a side passage that sloped beneath the hall, a corridor revealed when Grey Worm ordered rubble cleared from a collapsed arch. The stone there was carved with the same runes Daenerys had touched, and as her torchlight passed over them, the lines seemed to glow faintly, as if the rock remembered being alive. The corridor narrowed. Steam thickened. The air grew warmer, and yet each warm breath carried an undertow of cold, as if heat were being pulled away the moment it formed. Tyrion walked with his hand against the wall, fingers tracing grooves. "It's like being inside a living thing," he muttered. "A stomach, a throat, a heart."
Ser Barristan coughed softly.
"Do not say that," he snapped, but his voice lacked conviction. They reached a chamber that stole speech from even Tyrion. It was vast, a cavern of fused black stone and red veins that pulsed with the heartbeat. The walls rose high into darkness, and everywhere were niches. Thousands of them, carved into the rock like honeycomb, each holding an oval shape. Eggs. Some were dull and cold, covered in stone like scabs. Others gleamed wetly warm, their shells marbled with bronze and green and black. Some were cracked, their halves hanging open like broken mouths. Steam rose from them in thin threads. In the center of the cavern stood a dais of black glass, cracked but intact, shaped like a wedge driven into the earth. Channels ran from it like veins, cut into the floor, leading toward a wide pit at its base where the red glow was brightest. The heartbeat came from that pit. Daenerys stepped forward, drawn, and Ser Barristan grabbed her arm hard enough to leave a bruise. "No," he said, voice raw. "Do not touch anything." Daenerys looked at his hand on her arm and then at his face. His eyes were wide with fear he could not hide. Fear for her. Fear of this place. Fear of having followed his oath into something that did not care for oaths. She eased his hand away gently. "I already touched it," she said. "It touched me back." Gray worms unsullied spread out, spears angled, but even they looked small in this cavern. Their torchlight flickered against walls of eggs, and for a moment Daenerys imagined the whole cavern hatching at once, filling with wings and teeth. Yora's voice was a hoarse whisper. "How many?" he breathed. "Enough," Tyrion said softly. He stared at the eggs with the expression of a man counting coins and realizing the debt is impossible. "Enough to burn the world." A sound scraped across stone. They froze. From one of the cracked eggs near the dais, a hatchling crawled out, slick and steaming. It blinked at the torchlight and hissed, then scuttled toward the pit as if drawn by the heartbeat. Another hatchling emerged from a higher niche, then another. They did not look at the humans. They did not seek hands. They sought the pulsing red glow, the warm breath of the heart. Daenerys' skin prickled. "It calls them," she whispered. "Yes," Tyrion said, eyes narrowing. "It's not only waking them, it's directing them." The hatchlings reached the pit's edge and paused. Heat rose from below, thick and wet. One hatchling slipped on the stone and tumbled, vanishing into the red glow. A faint squeal rose, then cut off. Pulse followed, stronger. Daenerys' stomach clenched. "It's feeding," she whispered. Ser Barristan's face contorted with horror. "It eats them," he rasped. "It eats its own." "It eats fire," Tyrion corrected quietly. "What's more fire than a dragon?" The heartbeat quickened, as if pleased by the offering. Daenerys stepped to the dais. The black glass wedge was carved with runes identical to the ones on the hall floor. A slot at its base yawned empty, edges cracked as if something had been torn out. The key, she thought, the wedge that sealed the heart. A shard of black glass lay nearby, half buried in ash. Daenerys picked it up. It was warm, and when she held it, the heartbeat shifted, as if recognizing a piece of itself. Tyrion's eyes followed the shard. "If you can replace it," he said slowly, "you can slow the heart." "And if I fail," Daenerys said, "I wake it fully." Grey Worm's voice was hard. "Then we leave," he said. "Now." Daenerys looked at the pit, at the red glow pulsing like a living eye. She felt it watching her, tasting her, drawn to her blood the way dragons were drawn to fire. "No," she said softly. "If we leave without changing anything, it will keep feeding. It will keep waking eggs. It will keep breathing cold until the world chills and burns at once." Ser Barristan's voice broke. "Daenerys," he said, and there was desperation in it now. "You are not meant to die here." Daenerys did not answer him. She stared at the empty slot. In her mind, she heard the word again, the one the vision had whispered like a command. "Open." Daenerys tightened her grip on the black glass shard until it bit her palm, drawing blood. The heartbeat surged, hungry and delighted. Somewhere deep beneath the pit, something moved, vast and slow, as if turning in its sleep. The cavern shook, not like an earthquake, not like stone settling. This was a shudder that traveled through the walls as if the entire city flinched. Dust fell from the niches. Eggs rattled in their cradles. The heartbeat beneath their feet hammered faster, a frantic drum now rather than a patient thud. The hatchlings near the pit hissed and scrambled, their tiny claws clicking on stone. One slipped again and tumbled into the red glow, swallowed without sound. The heartbeat surged in answer, brighter, hotter. Drogon roared above them, the sound muffled by stone, but still powerful enough to make the cavern's air vibrate. It was not a roar of triumph. It was warning. Ser Barristan turned his face upward, as if he could see through miles of rock. "Something is coming," he whispered. Daenerys felt it too. The air pressure shifted. The steam thickened. The warmth in the cavern rose suddenly, then snapped into cold so sharp her breath caught. The heartbeat hammered, and with each pulse the red glow flared, casting the eggs in a terrible light. Tyrion backed away from the pit, eyes wide. "I'm starting to think this was a dreadful idea," he said, voice tight. "And I say that as someone who has made a career of dreadful ideas." Grey worms' spears lifted. The Unsullied tightened their formation, instinctively seeking the comfort of lines. But there was no line to hold against what stirred below. A sound rose from the pit. It was not the worms scraping. It was deeper, heavier, like stone grinding against stone under unimaginable weight. The red glow brightened, and something vast moved beneath it, a shadow passing behind the light as if a mountain shifted in the earth's belly. Daenerys's blood went cold. She remembered the Volantene survivor's words. A shadow that blotted torchlight, a roar old enough to make stone shake. The pit belched steam, and a gust of cold air surged up, washing over them. Torches guttered pale. Men cursed, clutching their cloaks. Then the roar came. It did not echo. It replaced sound. It filled the cavern so completely that Daenerys felt it in her teeth, in her ribs, in her bones. It was the sound of an ancient hunger waking and stretching. Eggs cracked along the walls. Not one, not two, dozens. Hairline fractures spidered across shells. Some split open, spilling steam and wet scales into the air. The cavern filled with hisses, small and frantic, like a nest of snakes. Tyrion's face went white. "We need to leave," he said, no humor left at all. "Right now." Ser Barristan's hand closed around Daenerys's arm again, this time not gentle. "Daenerys," he said, voice raw, "please." Daenerys stared at the empty slot in the dais, at the black glass shard in her bloody palm, at the pit's pulsing red eye. The heart was awake. The lock was broken, and something beneath it was rising. If I seal it wrong, she thought, I make a second Doom. If I do nothing, I let it open the world. A hatchling tumbled from a niche above, landing near Daenerys's boots. It hissed, wings flailing, and then scrambled toward the pit, drawn by the heartbeat. Its tiny claws scraped on stone, desperate. Daenerys moved before she thought. She snatched the hatchling up by the scruff like a kitten, twisted, snapping at her fingers. Its teeth scraped her skin, but the bite did not break. It hissed furious. Daenerys's voice cut through the chaos. "Grey Worm," she snapped. "Out, out, everyone." Grey Worm did not argue. He barked commands, and the Unsullied began to withdraw, spears still angled, dragging sailors and their torches with them. Yora stepped between Daenerys and the pit, as if his body could shield her from a mountain. "Come," he urged, voice harsh. Daenerys looked once more at the dais. The slot yawned empty, cracked edges raw. The black glass shard in her hand was only a piece. She did not have the key, but she had something else now. The runes beneath her skin, the memory of the lock, the knowledge that this heart could be slowed. She pressed the hatchling to her chest, feeling its frantic heat. "Not yet," she whispered to the cavern, to the heart, to the thing beneath. "Not all of you." The roar below answered, and the cavern shook again, harder. A fissure split along the cavern wall with a sound like the world tearing. Steam blasted out, icy and scalding at once. Drogon's roar grew closer, frantic. He was above them, pacing the hall's roof, wings beating. He would not come down here. He could not. Daenerys turned and ran. They fled up the sloping corridor, boots slipping on damp stone, torches flaring and dimming. Behind them, the heartbeat hammered faster, faster, and the hisses of hatchlings rose like a chorus. At the hall's entrance, the air outside struck Daenerys like relief and dread together. Cold wind, pale daylight, steam thinning over ruins. Drogon waited there, wings half spread, eyes wild. He lowered his head toward Daenerys and released a low rumble that was almost pleading. Daenerys stumbled to him, breath tearing. She could hear the city itself groaning now, stone shifting, towers rising a fraction higher from the sea, as if the heart's agitation pulled them up. Back to the ships. Ser Barristan shouted, voice cracked. They ran across the black avenue toward the landing rocks. Behind them, a plume of steam erupted from somewhere inland, rising like a white banner. The sea around Valyria rippled strangely, as if something below stirred the water. When they reached the ships, sailors were already hauling anchors, eyes wide with terror. The captains shouted, voices breaking. The ships turned outward, away from the rising ruins, sails catching the cold wind that smelled of iron. Daenerys stood at the stern as Valyria receded, Drogon circling overhead like a dark comet. In the thinning steam, she saw more towers emerging, black stone teeth rising higher. She saw eggshells floating on the water like broken bowls. She saw, far above the ruins, a Shah. Dao moving through the pale sky, too large to be Drogon, too slow to be a bird. It circled once, and the air seemed to tremble. Daenerys' fingers tightened on the rail until her knuckles went white. The hatchling she had grabbed clung to her cloak, hissing, tail wrapped around her wrist. His heat bled into her skin like a brand. Tyrion stood beside her, face drawn. You brought a souvenir, he said faintly. Daenerys did not look away from the shadow. I brought a warning, she said. The cold wind blew from Valyria after them, and the heartbeat faded behind the sound of waves. But Daenerys knew it had not stopped. It had only begun to run. Somewhere across Essos, eggs were already cracking. Somewhere, hands that were not hers were already bleeding for dragons. And Valyria, rising behind them, watched the world with a hunger older than empires. Daenerys tasted iron on the wind and vowed, silently, that she would not let that hunger choose the future.